This is Carrie Johnson with the Iowa Department of Management, and today I'm going to present a webinar that will provide information to county auditors and their staff as they are certifying local government budgets that they receive, in particular during the fiscal 21 budget certification process. So, when county auditors certify budgets, ultimately they will be certifying them via one of two online systems. For most budgets, you're going to be certifying them through the same online system that you use to submit your own county budget, valuations, annual financial reports. And so that's this valuation and finance system. For cities and schools, actually not community colleges, for cities and schools, you will be using the same Excel upload process and certification on this website link. And to access either of these applications, you're going to go to what we refer to as the county resource page, which is dom.iowa.gov/counties. So the Department of Management's role in the budget and certification process is to provide the forms, including all the web-based forms, provide instructions, provide technical assistance for the process for all those local government folks that need to provide a budget according to statute. DOM has 3 staff that deal with the local budget process. I provide assistance in particular with the budgets for county budgets, county hospital budgets, ag extension, and city and county assessor budgets. Ted Nellison in our office provides budget assistance with cities, townships, and all the miscellaneous smaller districts. And John Parker works with school districts, community colleges, emergency management, and E911 and 911 budgets. So for the budget certification process, many budgets are due to the county auditor, so to the county auditor's office by March 15th. For the fiscal 21, that 15th falls on a Sunday, so of course it would be March 16th. There are exceptions to that. Emergency management budgets are due February 28th. Sanitary districts are due March 1st. Cities and counties are now due March 31st, which is a change for the fiscal 21 budgets, and April 15th for schools. County auditors then certify the budgets. DOM sends out individual budget certifications of those tax rates. Once the county auditor has certified them, then DOM takes a step that we call finalizes. So you certify locally as a county auditor or county auditor staff. We at DOM see that certification. We make some checks and then we finalize those budgets and send out individual tax certification pages showing what we show in the system as the tax rate and tax dollars for that particular budget levy authority. DOM then will certify the consolidated rates by taxing district to the county auditor. And then the county auditor provides a tax list to the county treasurer by June 30th. So that's sort of our general process that we work through. Budgets are completed, they're certified locally by the county auditor. DOM finalizes those budgets and sends out what we call tax certifications, which are one-page summaries of levy rates and amounts. Once we ask folks to check those over, and then once those are checked over, we certify consolidated tax rates by taxing district to the counties for their own purpose and use to verify all those rates. And then, of course, the county auditor provides that tax list to the county treasurer so that those tax statements can be prepared. Budget extensions, only cities and counties can request a budget extension from DOM, and they would do so in writing. And it is for circumstances beyond their control. So if an extension is desired for any reason, the city or county would need to contact DOM. We would instruct them to write a letter indicating the reason for the extension and their request for a specific date for that extension to be granted to. And then if an extension is granted, a letter with a new due date is sent to that city and county, and also the county auditor will receive a copy. So that way, as county auditor, that say a city is not going to be delivering their budget by March 15th. It's actually March 30th, what have you, because they've been granted an extension. So the city and county, again, are the only ones that can have an extension. No other levy authority has the option to request an extension, but most of those other folks are not going to be penalized for submitting their budget late. They're not going to be financially penalized, I should say. Cities, counties, and townships that certify their budget late are held to last year's certified taxes. So cities and counties are penalized if they submit their budget late, but they also are able to be granted an extension if there's something going on that's beyond their control. Townships don't have the opportunity to seek an extension, but they are penalized. And DOM will assist with applying the penalty if it is a situation where that needs to happen. So if you have something like that going on, contact DOM and we will work with you through that process. So again, the role of the county auditor is to certify all those local government budgets, including the county budget. So as budgets are being certified, don't forget to take the step to certify also the county budget. When you are certifying the budget in the online system, the new online system, you're going to see the check boxes that traditionally were at the bottom of the budget itself. You're going to be certifying online and checking off these boxes. You do need to check off all boxes in order to actually certify the budget. Schools are going to be uploading an Excel file to the Department of Management website, the same budget submission site that they've had in the past. They're going to be providing you with an original proof of publication, a paper copy of the detailed forms, and a signed original of the adoption of budget and certification of taxes. You're going to then email Department of Management, so this would be for John Parker. You're going to email him a copy of the adoption of budget and certification of taxes. Do not mail that, actually email that to John Parker. For cities, they're going to be uploading the Excel files to the Department of Management website for fiscal 21. They're going to be providing an original proof of publication for the max levy notice and the regular budget hearing notice. They're going to be providing an adopted resolution for the max levy approval, a paper copy of the detailed forms, and a signed original of the adoption of budget and certification of taxes. You're going to email Department of Management a copy of that adoption of budget and certification of taxes. Again, do not mail it, just email it to Ted Nelson. The online budgets, so all of the other budgets, are going to be filed and certified online using that local government budgets website. They're going to be giving you an original proof of publication, a paper copy of the detailed budget forms, and a signed original of the adoption of budget and certification of taxes. For counties, there's also going to be that max levy proof of publication and an adopted resolution. Do not send any paper documents to Department of Management for those online budgets. County auditors will keep and file those forms, and you're going to be certifying online for all those budgets. There's not a paper document that needs to go to Department of Management for those budgets. Compliance check, you're going to be comparing the proof of publication with the adopted budget. So you need to make sure that the budget hearing notice and budget estimates were published or posted within required timelines before the budget hearing. Budget hearing notice and budget estimate was lawfully published in the official newspaper or posted as required. Adopted property taxes do not exceed the published amounts. Adopted expenditures do not exceed the published amounts in total or by fund as applicable, depending on the particular entity. So you're going to be taking a look at that. You're going to be reviewing that information for all budgets. But additional checks will be required for cities and counties due to Senate File 634. Any errors in the above areas should be returned to the levy authority for correction. And again, Department of Management can assist. If you're seeing something that doesn't look right to you and you're not sure what to do, please contact the applicable Department of Management staff and we'll, help you kind of work through those issues and discuss them with you. Be sure to use the official proof of publication for verification. And again, Iowa code allows expenditures and property taxes to be less than published, but not more. So someone may be publishing a higher tax asking than what they requested. They might be publishing a higher tax asking than what they end up adopting at the end of the day, and that's fine. Same with expenditures, but it can't be higher. Cities and schools, you're going to verify that the signed adoption of budget and certification of taxes matches the same form in the Excel file. For online budgets, you're going to verify that the signed adoption of budget and certification of taxes matches the same form on the online system. So this is just to verify that what you're seeing in hard copy matches what they have submitted on the online system. For the publication timeline, remember that levy authorities have a requirement to publish or post not less than 10, no more than 20 days before the date of the public hearing. The date of the hearing itself is not included in that count. You do include weekend days in that count. So for example, for a budget hearing that's on February 22nd, the hearing notice must be published on February 2nd through February 12th. So just sort of an example here that you'd count those days as you go. So just keep that in mind. And if you have, if you're questioning the time frame that you're seeing for a publication, then, definitely ask that question and, take those steps if something doesn't look right to you. The hearing notice with the budget estimates were lawfully published in official newspapers or posted as required. So again, you're looking at that proof of publication and making sure that they were published or posted as required. Cities 201 or more will publish, and if they're 200 or less, they post, and townships post. So just sort of that distinction with publishing and posting for very small cities and townships. Valuation changes for schools and cities, you're going to verify those valuation amounts. Differences should be noted in the comments area when you're certifying online. Significant differences causing major changes should be discussed with DOM. So send an email either to John Parker if it's in regards to a school, or to Ted Nelson if it's in regards to a city. The online budget system pulls valuation from the valuation reporting system when it's filed. So if you as a county auditor had made valuation changes, it's very important that the county auditor notifies the levy authority if those valuation changes are made. The online system, the new system, doesn't notify users of changes automatically. The system will hold their requested dollars the same and recalculate the tax rates. So just sort of be aware if you're in a situation with the online system that a valuation change happened once someone was in there working with their budget. If they had inputted their tax asking, it will automatically recalculate. So you just have to kind of work through that and communicate with folks. If you're seeing a valuation change occur that was late enough in the process and your levy authority didn't catch or wasn't aware of that change and you have questions, please just contact DOM. And again, we'll work with you through any sort of modifications that need to happen due to a valuation change. Levy authorities, again, are held to the same tax dollars as what they publish, not the same tax rate. So just sort of keep that in mind. All tax rates must be authorized by statute. So if there's a rate that requires an election, you want to be sure that you have documentation of that election on file in the county office. Also make sure that rates meet other statutory parameters. For example, if a rate can only be used if another rate is at its maximum. For instance, a county can only use a general supplemental if you're at your general basic maximum. So you want to be certain that any sort of requirement of that nature is being met. The budget forms themselves, that budget software is designed to help catch those types of issues before they would ever get to a finalized budget. But please, help us out and make sure that that's what you're seeing in the final adopted budget. The budget software, as I mentioned, is designed to help control potential errors, but please ensure those are correct through the verification process. And please be sure to check any voted levies for proper authority. We do provide a summary of tax rate limitations document that you'll see, within our information that we send out to you. That just provides, the list of all the different levy authorities and their statutory rate limits. You just kind of be aware of that. If you have questions when you're looking at that list, please be sure to let us know. For debt service, please check to ensure that any debt service levy is properly authorized, that you have a copy of the required resolution. Ensure that debt service taxes are being collected as required to meet a levy authority's debt obligations. So if you have a certified debt and a levy authority, a city, for instance, is not levying anything to cover that debt, that's an issue that needs to be addressed. Verify that the debt service levy is for general obligation debt only, not revenue debt. General obligation debt is the only debt that not revenue debt is the debt that's allowed to be levied for. So, just one of those things that you want to double check when you're looking at that long-term debt schedule. If a bond resolution is filed after the budget deadline, be sure to let Department of Management know, and we'll help you with that process. New warning messages have been added to the long-term debt schedule of the city budget. So just sort of be aware of these new messages. Counties aren't responsible for following up with the cities on these warnings. It's really intended to help the city be aware as they're working on their budget that there may be issues that they need to address within that long-term debt schedule. So I want to talk for a moment about a piece of legislation that passed in the last legislative session, in the 2019 session, Senate File 634. This impacts only cities and counties, no other levy authorities. And what Senate File 634 did is require an additional notice and public hearing for cities and counties only prior to the regular budget process. All counties have to do an additional notice and public hearing. Regardless of any sort of amount of increase, all counties have to take this step. All cities have to take this step. And then, because of this additional requirement, cities and counties must file the additional documents with the county auditor per this new law. So you're going to be getting from the county auditor's office and from all of your cities a proof of publication for this additional hearing notice, which DOM refers to as the max levy hearing notice. And you're also going to receive a resolution that sets that max levy amounts that were approved by the city council or board of supervisors. Cities and counties are required to post the notice on the website and social media if applicable. As part of the resolution, we have a statement in there where cities and counties will attest that they posted online as required if it's applicable to their particular city or county, if they have a website, for example, when they adopt the resolution. So the proof is on them to say, yes, we did this. The legislation does not require any sort of proof of online publication be certified with the county auditor. Basically, you're going to be receiving the resolution, and in that resolution, they are stating that they did what was required. The only proof of publication that you are going to be getting is the newspaper proof of publication. County auditors need to verify all the regular budget documents as before, but they also, due to Senate File 634, need to verify that the publication requirements were met for that additional max levy notice. You're going to be getting, as I mentioned, the proof of publication from the newspaper for that max levy notice, and that's what you verify. You need to verify that the max levy amounts were adopted by resolution and do not exceed the amounts that were published. And then if the 2% is exceeded, the resolution has been adopted by a 2/3 majority. The sample resolution that we have available provides a space for a roll call vote on the resolution, so that should help you provide verification that there was a 2/3 majority if that was required. When the full budget is later adopted, then the city or county cannot exceed the max levy amounts as approved in that resolution. So you're going to want to go back and have that max levy resolution on hand when you're verifying the final budget certification to make sure that what they adopted in that final budget certification doesn't exceed that initial amount as approved in the max levy resolution. And a reminder, budget deadline for cities and counties is now March 31st. So just sort of be aware of that. And with the max levy notice in particular, county auditors may be receiving some of these documents earlier in the process, the max levy notice publication and those types of documents a little earlier. So just kind of be aware that your process is slightly extended now. So for city and county certification, when you are certifying county budgets in the new online system, you're going to see some check boxes that are particular to the particular new max levy notice. And you can see those there. You're going to be checking those off as you go through and finalize and certify the adopted budget. Budget protests are covered by Code of Iowa Chapter 24 and covered for cities and counties in their own code sections within the statute. County budgets in 331, 436 have a particular number of signatures required. In that segment, what you see for counties is that they reference Chapter 24, but they do indicate that 100 signatures are the minimum needed for a budget protest. The budget protest deadline as a result of Senate File 634 was extended to April 10th for cities and counties, and that's to accommodate that later budget deadline of March 31st. The budget hearing notice, due to Senate File 634, must include information on protesting the budget. What Department of Management did is just add language to that hearing notice. So this was not a step that you needed to take as a city or county. We just added that general line about the budget protest process to the hearing notice that you use. Some city budgets submitted for fiscal 2021 may not show this language as it was added late due to technical issues. Protesting a local government budget is covered under Code of Iowa Section 2427. Persons affected by the proposed budget, expenditure, or tax levy, or by any item therein may appeal the budget. They file a petition and appeal with the county auditor first. So the county auditor of the county in which local government is located is going to receive that petition document. And as a reminder, the protest to the county budget require at least 100 signatures. For all other folks, it's a calculated number based on the number of votes in the last governor election. So if you have questions about whether or not the signature requirement is being met, certainly let us know and we can point you to the right section of code. The county auditor then, upon receiving a protest document, is going to forward that to the State Appeal Board. The State Appeal Board is a 3-member board comprised of the Auditor of State, Treasurer of State, and Director of Department of Management. And so what happens upon receipt of a protest, the State Appeal Board is going to schedule a local hearing on the budget. It is the intent that the hearings themselves and the appeal process is simple and informal, subject to the rules of the State Appeal Board. The State Appeal Board may designate deputies to attend the local hearing. So what typically occurs for that local hearing is that there would be a representative of the Auditor of State's office, a representative of Treasurer of State, and a representative from Department of Management, folks that deal more directly or more familiar directly with the issues and the financial processes in that particular type of local government that's being protested. So at the hearing itself, the burden of proof is upon objectors or the folks that are protesting the budget for any proposed item which was included in the budget of the previous year with a proposal for reduction or exclusion of the specific item. So if you have something that's been in your budget as a local budget that's being protested, you have something that's been in your budget and the protesters have an objection to that item, they need to prove why that item should no longer be included. The burden is on the local government certifying or levying officials to show any new item in the budget or any increase is necessary, reasonable, and in the interest of the public welfare. So if you have an increase in your budget that the protesters are taking issue with, or a new item in the budget, new expenditure, new tax, then the burden of proof again is on that local government to demonstrate that that item is necessary, reasonable, and in the interest of the public welfare. So the general hearing format is going to be that the hearing would be informal, again, should last a maximum of an hour. First, the protesters or petitioners present their appeal. When they're finished, the local government has an opportunity to make their opening remarks and a rebuttal. The petitioners are giving an opportunity for rebuttal. And after both parties have been heard, there is an opportunity for any third-party interveners to be heard, any comments from the audience, and then the hearing panel themselves may have some questions, either for the petitioners or for the local government. And there's an opportunity then for closing comments on both sides of the issue, the petitioners and the local government. Following the hearing, the State Appeal Board will render a decision in writing within 45 days of the hearing itself. Keep in mind that the State Appeal Board can reduce, but not increase, a tax asking and expenditures within the protested budget. And the State Appeal Board will work with the county auditor to implement any of those required changes to the budget under the protest decision prior to the finalization of the tax rate. So if someone's budget were to be protested and the State Appeal Board said we needed to reduce the tax asking by a certain amount, the State Appeal Board and Department of Management will work with the county auditor to implement those changes and to have that reflected in whatever the final tax rate is for that particular budget. Prior decisions are found on the Department of Management website, dom.iowa.gov/State Appeal Board documents. Any local government protest is filed first with the county auditor again. The county auditor is going to verify signatures and addresses, forwards that petition and protest document to the State Appeal Board. And if adjustments to the budget are ordered by the State Appeal Board, we will work with the county auditor to make sure the corrected budget is certified at the end of the day, reflecting the tax rate as determined by that decision. So I'm going to walk through a certification example for the new online system. You would go to the Department of Management's county resource page on our website, and you would go down to the same system that you use to prepare the county budget and county AFRs and submit valuations. You'd log into that system and go to, obviously the main page is going to show you all the budgets within your county. Once a budget is adopted and the levy authority has given you their required documents, you'd go into the system then to certify that budget. You'd pull up the budget that's in an adopted status, and you'd go to the applicable item and select the edit icon under actions. You'd select the certify button that you're going to see at the very top of that budget in adopted status. And you would walk through the options that are going to be demonstrated in this pop-up. These options or check boxes are going to be specific to that budget type. So there's slight variations depending on what budget you're certifying. All these boxes must be checked in order to certify the budget. So you'd walk through those items and make sure that you can check them all off before you move forward. And you also will indicate if a budget is certified on time, late, or late with an extension. So you'd check through the boxes, certify the type as far as late, on time, or late with extension, and you would select the certify option. The system will provide a notification at the top once the budget is properly certified. If a budget is unable to be certified due to errors, it must be rejected. So if any of those check boxes cannot be checked, then it must be rejected. And you would select the red reject button at the top of the screen. When you select that button, you will need to enter a brief explanation if you're rejecting a budget. You also must indicate if the budget needs a new hearing due to a publication error. Some budgets that you're rejecting, it may be because their tax asking was adopted higher than what they published, or something of that nature that will be a correction, versus a situation where maybe they didn't meet their publication parameters and they need to start over and hold a new hearing. So if it is a situation where they need a new public hearing date, please check that box. For any budget that you're rejecting, though, please indicate that the reason for the rejection. In this example, we're saying did not meet publication requirements, must republish and hold a new hearing, and then the reject button is selected. The budget will be rejected, and that returns it to draft status. So the levy authority can go in then, make required changes, propose again, and create a new publication page if that's what's needed. If not, then they're going to retain their original publication date. If you are rejecting a budget for any reason, be sure to inform that impacted levy authority as soon as possible, as well as inform department management. We can assist with that process and talk you and the levy authority through those corrections if needed. Certification example for cities and schools. This is going to look very similar to prior years. You would still go to the county resource page, but you would select certify city, county, or city, school, actually not community colleges, just city and school for this year. And you're going to see the options for checkboxes that are demonstrated at the bottom of the city budget certification page, and those will appear as they have in prior years. Those, of course, need to be checked off. The approval process is to ensure that the file matches the paper copy that's submitted to your office. Budgets that do not comply with publication, posting, expenditures, property tax rate, TIF debt are not certified. The budget should be returned, and the county auditor can contact DOM so the file can be removed. In some cases, a hearing notice may not match the notice published or posted. Again, folks are allowed to adopt property taxes or expenditures less than those on the hearing notice, but they cannot exceed what was published. And the hearing notice automatically changes whenever any figure in the budget is changed. For this reason, the adopted budget file and hearing notice may differ from the published version. So you want to make sure that the paper copy matches the electronic file. Quick way to verify is to look at the certification page for the rates and the hearing notice. The hearing notice page is the sum of all the pages. If the hearing notice page matches, then the other pages obviously must match. And then there's an option to approve the budget. There is a notes option where you can indicate comments. The comment area is not intended for statutory violations. If the budget itself is not compliant statutorily, don't certify it. Go ahead and contact DOM. There is also the information for voted levies that you want to be sure to take a look at. And then you would indicate for city budget if it was filed on time or within the extension period, or if it was filed late without an extension. There is an option to indicate budget notes that you can print and retain for your own files. All cities split within multiple counties are listed on the top left. When the city uploads the budget, the file is replaced when another budget file is submitted by the city to correct an error. Some common questions that you might have through the certification process are related to publication questions, the quality of the publication, if it's missing information, correct information, how is posting verified, those types of things. Timing questions, what happens when the 10 and 20 is not met? And there's really only one option for that. They're going to have to redo the process. Also, questions come about, can the meeting date, time, location be altered? Those types of issues. Debt questions, what debts need verification? What is long-term debt verified against? There are those types of questions that come up, in particular with certifying city budgets, and also fund balance questions. What is the auditor responsible for in regards to that? So, these are some of the questions that come up. And if you have a question and it's not something that you're comfortable with, or you just aren't sure where to go with a budget that you're taking a look at and you're trying to certify, certainly contact Department of Management. And again, go back to that contact list for the different staff at DOM that are responsible for those different budgets. So once you have certified the budget, as I mentioned, Department of Management is going to finalize those budgets, and we would provide you then with tax certifications. Once those budgets are finalized locally, certified locally, we finalize, and we're going to send you a notification that you can obtain a tax certification. Schools and cities are going to be provided via email as in prior years. For all the other budgets with the new system, we're going to alert you that the local government's budget is finalized by DOM. County auditors are going to log into the budget system and will access the finalized budget, print off, and save a new certification page as a separate document. So in prior years, our old system sent out emails with those documents, with those certification documents. We're getting away from spamming folks with all those emails and instead just sending you a notification to say, hey, the assessor budgets are now all finalized. You can go into the system and print off your certification page. The expectation is always that that certification page is reviewed as soon as possible by both the county auditor and the local levy authority. That way, we know that someone's taken a look at it and there's any issues that might be occurring or some sort of miscommunication can be addressed. Discrepancies need to be reported immediately so they can be addressed and we can move forward with the process. So I'm going to show you an example of what that new online certification looks like. Again, Department of Management will notify you once a levy authority type is finalized. We'll send out an email and say, hey, assessor budgets are now all finalized. You can go in and obtain the certification. You'll log into the online system as before. You would go to that individual budget and select edit under the actions icon. So you'll enter into the budget. And then you would print the applicable certification page at your convenience. So once a budget is finalized, when you go to the print option, there's going to be a certification option generated for you. Like other documents, you can open and print it to your printer as a hard copy or save it to a PDF. And this is basically what it looks like. It's going to look very similar to, prior years as far as the information goes. It's laid out a little differently, but the information as presented will be the same. And it would be just simply a one-page document that demonstrates the rate as we show it, the utility and property taxes, as well as the reported valuation for that particular levy authority. So you can print it off, save off a PDF, and have that available. And please, as I mentioned, review that as soon as you can when you get the notification. Consolidated tax rates. So, once all those certifications are sent out and we provide some opportunity for folks to review that information, the next step in our process is taking all those rates together on a tax district level and providing a consolidated tax rate for you to also then review at the county level. So we're going to certify the final total property tax levies by tax district to the county auditor. We consider this, again, that consolidated rates list. And what we ask is that you take a look at that list and double check the total rates per tax district and compare that against what you show and make sure that we're on the same page. Please notify Department of Management as soon as possible with any discrepancies. Just keep in mind that Department of Revenue does use Department of Management's consolidated rates for the calculation of the business property tax credit. So there really is a timing issue where we need to present that information and get any sort of discrepancy issues addressed as soon as possible. So we will alert counties when those consolidated rate reports are available. And this is actually the same process as we experienced last year. You're going to go to that same website that you use for valuations and budgets and all that, and you're going to go to Reports and find Consolidated Tax Rates. You do not need to log in to obtain this information. So go to Reports, find Consolidated Tax Rates, and you can access the report as either a CSV and download it to Excel or as a PDF, whichever works best for you. And this is just sort of the different look for each of the reports. It's going to, again, show you all of the tax districts, information about those tax districts, and the total consolidated rate. You can also view the component pieces of the consolidated rate by tax district if you go to the tax district recap report. This is also in a PDF or CSV. So if you know that the total tax rate is $25, that's what we're showing, but you actually show $24 and you're wanting to know what the discrepancy is, this is a really good way to kind of narrow down what the issue is. You'd go to that tax district recap report, again, also PDF or CSV, and you'd run that report, find the tax district that has the issue, and in the PDF version, you would see the different assigned levy authorities in that tax district and also the rate that we show for each of those levy authorities. In the Excel files, very similar. The tax rates are going to be over towards the right-hand column. It'll show the different levy authorities' names and, again, the tax rate that we show for those levy authorities. If you have any questions through the tax certification process, consolidated rates, or any of those issues, please contact us at Department of Management. Here is the contact information for the different folks, and we'll be happy to assist you with the process.